Alright, you guys, this is going to be for my divine feminines on a journey, and I'm going to be talking about how to power through, how to heal through the awareness and the knowing that your divine masculine is connecting to other women. It's something that I'm being asked a lot on sessions. It's a very difficult moment on the journey for the feminines. Some of the feminines are shielded from that knowledge. Some of the feminines get access to that knowledge in the physical, so you actually see something, whether that's in the physical or through social media, through friends in common. And some feminines, we get access to that knowledge through our psychic abilities and our psychic insight. It's very individual, and everything happens for a reason. So if you know you are meant to know, there's a lesson in it to process and to figure out for your own growth. So I kind of want to break this topic down for you to help you understand, maybe on a level of a mind, so you can make sense with it on the level of a heart, because that's always how things happen. Sometimes it's helpful to understand the logic and the why behind certain things, but ultimately we have to reach enough understanding of the journey and enough understanding of the meaning of life and the meaning of this journey and the meaning of true freedom and true unconditional love on the level of a heart, to fully understand and make peace with that knowledge. And I always say this to you guys, it's the difference between the knowing and the embodiment, right? The knowing is on the level of a mind. My mind knows why this is happening on a logical level, but then my heart cannot exactly make peace with that. And there's a variety of situations that we have to face, and from a logical perspective, from a perspective of the ego of a human being, it is very natural that we start to ask questions, and there are certain things that we cannot make sense of. So the first situation, and I usually say this to you guys, that when we talk about the separation, it is only normal, and it happens for all of us, that the masculine does connect to other women. It's part of his path, and I talk about this a lot, and we've covered this topic as well in my masculine masterclass, but it's part of this path. We'll explain this in a moment a little bit as well. And a part of the path of the feminine is to live a life of celibacy. For a variety of reasons, it happens that way. One of the reasons being that we are meant to become the divine feminine, so we are meant to remember what femininity is about, what being a high priestess is about, what the meaning of intimacy is really about, how distorted it is these days, because it's part of our role to remember and to remind others that it's such a beautiful thing that shouldn't actually be happening outside of divine union, and that sexuality and sensuality is something that we can explore within ourselves and not just through literally intercourse with another person. And the reason that we want to do that outside of divine union, that can happen for anyone with an actual soulmate, is always rooted in shadows. So that's something, and disconnect from self. So that's something that is one of the key collective role of the divine feminine to understand. So we usually connect so strongly subconsciously from the beginning of the journey to ourself and to our ultimate partner, who is our divine masculine, that we start to walk the path of celibacy, again, for most of us. For the masculine, it's a little bit different, because he walks this path dormant. So as he walks this path dormant, there are usually two models of masculines that we see, that we observe. So for most of them, they're going to go towards that Casanova sort of a behavior that I talk about also often, especially in our readings. So the one that fears commitment, the one that is never to settle, the one that is panically afraid to grow roots, the one that will connect to multiple women for validation, to feel better, for the pleasure of the conquest, for the pleasure of having control. So again, all coming from shadows. Further along the way, the journey, it will become for the need of love, because men, just like women, are human beings. We need the frequency of love, and if we are on a low vibration of a shadow, we are unable to alchemize that love within ourselves, coming from self-love and self-worthiness. So we seek that validation outside of ourselves. And how we seek that validation, being a man and being a woman, what makes that huge difference that I'll talk about in a moment, why our masculines connect to other women and we fall into different kinds of traps. This is why also it's so important to always understand the root cause of everything, because you may be watching your masculine and feeling he's still connecting to other women, he's doing this and that, and sometimes, yes, it will be part of the journey where you already are in your wholeness and he's playing catch up, but sometimes it's also because you're falling into the same shadows, you're just not seeing it because these shadows are manifested in the physical world in a different way. So we'll talk about this in a moment. But it's that seeking for love, seeking for validation, seeking for conquest, seeking for feeling better about yourself, and having breadcrumbs of love that push him towards that Casanova behavior. And the other model that I find is a little bit less frequent, they usually have that Casanova behavior, but some masculines connect to one, maybe two throughout the years, specific karmics, and they form a connection with that woman. So in the first case, if you know that that's the case for your masculine, it's a little bit more logical, a little bit more easier for the mind to make sense out of it, right? So you would say to yourself, I know that he has to go through this. I know this is part of his karma. I know the reasons why he's doing that. It's the validation. It's the lack of self-love. It's the lack of understanding of the meaning of true intimacy, of physical body. It's also the fact that he has to go through certain karma because the masculine learns on a different level. So remember, and it's something that I've covered in my masterclass as well. They keep bothering me. The feminine, we awaken in the beginning of this journey. So we immediately connect to the divine. We immediately connect to what is beyond the physical world. We constantly operate on a 4D level. Time sort of becomes fluid on that journey. Hold on. I had to push myself a little away from them. Time becomes fluid on this journey, and the perception of time changes. And we constantly connect to 5D as well. And our lesson, and the key, it's a lesson of a soul. And the key thing that we need to do on this journey is the fragmentation of the soul. So to collect the pieces of the soul, of our energy, of the energy of our awareness that were left behind in different realms and timelines for us and for our masculine because of pain. This is what we do through healing the wounds, through healing past life wounds, through healing collective wounds. Some feminines do it in a more conscious way. Some feminines do it in a less conscious way. That will depend on your journey. Again, not all of us become seers and psychics. It's not a given thing for divine feminine. We're very intuitive and we're very tapped in, but not all of us have certain gifts activated. The gifts that you will activate will depend on your specific journey. So some feminines do it in a more subconscious way, but that's what the feminine basically does. It's returning to wholeness for the both of us on a level of a soul, through fragmentation of a soul, through collecting the fragments of a soul, through healing and deeper understanding of a soul and the meaning of life. Meanwhile, the masculine remains dormant because he has to, because his path goes through karma from the physical world, because he's the masculine. So he's deeply anchored in the physical world. He's a master of the physical plane of existence. So he has to fully understand the matrix, the distortion of the matrix, and the low vibration of the physical world. So he goes down deeper on the matrix, thus usually the random connection, the Casanova behavior, the disrespect towards his own body, oftentimes substances and unhealthy lifestyle, focus on shallow things and on shallow sort of a level of abundance, and so on and so forth. So these are his lessons, and he literally needs to go into the lessons in the physical to learn the lessons, whereas we operate more on a 5D kind of a level. So literally at certain point of this journey, the lessons just come to us and come to our mind, and we literally just learn these lessons. And you also have to remember that this journey, just like any spiritual journey, like any journey of life, is a spiral. It's not linear. So you cannot compare yourself where you are now towards where he is now because we go through elements of this journey in a different shape and form and in a different sequence. And it's something that I've explained in my masterclass when I talked about the phases of the journey and the stages of the journey. So you can go ahead and watch that on my YouTube. I have a separate playlist for my divine feminine throat chakra and divine masculine playlist, so you will know that in depth. So when our masculine go towards that Casanova behavior, it's a little bit more logical for us to understand and to process, because we think to ourselves, well, okay, he has to go through this, he has to pay karma, he's not yet on a level of being able to close the lack of self-love and the lack of worthiness on the level of self through self-love and self-work and self-healing and inner work. So he's seeking that validation. And like I mentioned, for men, seeking that validation is usually through the conquest, because you have to understand here, it goes back and it roots back to the essence of the masculine energy and the essence of feminine energy. Subconsciously, the essence of masculine energy is, we all want to connect to the divinity, right? We all want to connect to the wholeness, to the feeling like we're not alone, like we have a meaning, and we do that through connecting to the divine, right? So the masculine energy subconsciously knows that the best way for him to connect to the divine is through a woman, because a woman is the closest thing to God on this earth. But when he is wounded and when he is distorted, and woman has a healing properties, a woman as a feminine in a feminine vessel, through the power of our womb, through the cycle of our body, the menstrual cycle of our body, we have the power to literally cleanse everything that is around us and remove all that gunk, all the negative energy through the portal of our womb as we bleed. So you cleanse that, not just for yourself, but people around you and men that are connected to you and your partner, your divine masculine, and ultimately, but obviously if you connect to different men, you're going to do that for them. So we're natural healers, right? So they subconsciously know this. So they subconsciously want to connect to something higher, to feel better, to feel greater, especially if they are very low vibrational and bathing themselves in shadows. So the easiest way for a masculine energy to seek validation is through conquest of a woman, because they subconsciously know that this is the goddess, this is the healer, this is how I'm going to feel better. They explain this to themselves on a very shallow and physical level, and many people believe that. And again, it's one of the huge misconceptions of the Matrix, that this is because this is how masculine body functions, and that he needs intimacy, he needs intercourse. It's rubbish. It's all on a level of energy. They subconsciously know that they need that validation coming from connecting to the divine, which is in this physical plane a woman. Because if a man is a divine masculine, he rises enough into his masculine power, he as well can find a connection through his inner feminine, and he doesn't have to connect to women to feel wholeness, to feel validated, to feel worthy, and to feel that self-love. So it's a little bit easier for us to accept that, because you can reason with yourself, he has his karma to pay, he's still seeking love, he's still seeking validation, he's still learning his lessons in the physical world. And ultimately, as you are on a level of this journey where you understand that he is free to do whatever he wants, as much as the knowledge and the visual of that can cause you some pain, in the moment, you're going to be able to self-soothe and self-regulate and understand that he's living his own life, he's living his own journey. All that is happening was meant to happen. And I want to mention one thing before we go to that second example that's a little bit harsher to sort of swallow and to accept. I want to mention one thing. So I've addressed how masculine energy closes in a shallow, shadowy way the gap of that self-love and self-validation and wanting to feel better, wanting to connect to the divine, wanting to connect to something greater, and wanting to heal through connection to a random woman. Now, we have to understand, so you can fully validate whether you are on the same level, how feminine energy does this. Because many feminines, they're quick to judge their own masculines, and they don't understand fully that's two different things in the physical world. They're coming from the same shadow. So as long as you heal that shadow, you cannot expect for him to heal that shadow as well. So how a feminine energy, when she's low vibrational, when she's stuck still in the matrix, when she still followed the program of the matrix, how the feminine, when she cannot find that love and validation on a level of self, how she finds that. So just as subconsciously men know that women are the closest thing to God, natural healers, natural goddesses and high priestesses and portals to the divine, and through that portal they want access to the divine, so they want access to us. The feminine understands this subconsciously as well. I am the goddess. My body is a temple. My body is a portal, and my womb is a portal to the divine. I have access to the quantum fields, to the divine knowledge, and to the divine directly. This is my role, and this is my job in this physical world. So we understand that we are literally here to exist and to be the high priestess of our own temple, right? So when there's a distortion, when there's still conditioning, women fall often for that patriarchal ageism, sort of a trap of wanting to attract more attention, seek more validation through being attractive, being young, being youthful. And when you haven't yet fully understood how this is being done through alignment, through Ayurvedic practices, through connecting to the divine, through taking care of your body and of your temple in a very spiritual, healthy way, you go towards still quick fixes. So procedures, Botoxes, facelifts, tummy tucks, whatever is it that you want to do, and whatever is it, again, there's no judgment, just like there's no judgment from our masculines. We both seek the same. Ultimately, we just do it in a different way. So the masculine energy, because again, we live in a matrix that is very masculine based, patriarchal, distorted feminine and masculine. You have to understand that, right? So men seek control over women and conquest over women because that is the distortion, and deep down they understand that through women they have a connection to the divine, whereas women seek that connection through distorted understanding of your value as a woman, right? Your value as a woman, right? So they don't understand that our value and the value of our body and our temple starts from the frequency of a vibration inside of us, and it doesn't rely on hours at the gym, constant procedures, looking younger, looking and staying more relevant, but actually tapping into that goddess inside of you and understanding that we are all beautiful, we are all divine. And the more you're going to be aligned, the more you're going to be a godly woman, the more you're going to follow your path and be the servant to the divine, your body will always reflect that internal frequency. So this is just a side note for you to understand that we pursue the same thing, that validation in a different way because of the distortion of the system that we live in. So when we talk about that second example, which is our masculine actually connecting to someone in a more committed way, it's very difficult to make sense out of it, right? Because here you are, you love him, he loves you, you are in separation, you can understand that he connects to random women because he still haven't reached the levels of self-esteem, self-love, and self-validation, self-worthiness enough to understand that he has been worthy of this love that you can share all along, and it was a part of your path, and he will get there. But when you see him actually connecting and committing to another woman, be it in a committed relationship, living with her, maybe, even sometimes there's marriage, sometimes there's pregnancies and children involved, it's really difficult to make sense out of it from a perspective of, well, apparently he's not afraid of commitment. Apparently he's not afraid of love and being with somebody. So why that somebody is not me and another woman, since we both feel that love towards each other. But first of all, it's everything happens for a reason, and I believe that if it's happening to you, it means that you're one of the strongest warriors, because it's very difficult to overcome this situation and know that here I am in celibacy, serving God, living my purpose, and trusting in the divine plan, and there he is getting married or having children or whatever that is. It's an incredibly difficult situation. We always have to believe that everything can change from one day to another. We always have to believe that it's God's plan. If it's happening, it really has no influence. I know it's difficult to make logic out of it, but it really has no influence on your timeline, because everything is divinely orchestrated, right? So however many years you're meant to be in separation, considering that you are aligned and you're not going to prolong it and repeat any cycles, what happens in that separation on his end, it really doesn't matter for ultimately your final timeline. But it's difficult to understand. Praying for support from your guides always help to really understand why is that happening in your specific case. But what you need to remember is that this is just yet another karmic lesson. This is a karmic contract that he has to complete. This is a karmic contract with a different soul that he agreed, both of you agreed for him to sign and go through for a very specific reason. So everything happens for a divine reason. And don't think about it like, yeah, well, he can commit to this woman, he cannot commit to me, because you have to remember that the divine feminine, his true divine feminine, his true divine counterpart is his ultimate mirror. We amplify everything that we represent. So as long as he's sitting in a place of shadow, being with you will be amplifying those shadows. So being with any other woman will just be easier. And once he reaches his masculine divinity, his greatness, he moves to the side of light. Being with us will amplify that light. This is why when we are in union, we amplify each other's greatness. We amplify each other's light. We achieve more. We do more. We feel more. We become more, because we have achieved the wholeness on a 3D level. So that's why I always also say to you guys, the creatrix, the feminine, needs to create that wholeness on a level of 5D, which means that you have to constantly remain connected to the other side of your consciousness, which is your masculine, on a level of 5D, as if you already were connected. No anger, no regret, no resentment, no comparison, no judgment. We are together, we are a team. Even if you are with another woman, I'm sending you love. I'm sending you I'm sending you forgiveness. I'm sending you all the positive emotions, because I know that you're going through this for both of us. You have to go through this just like I had to go through my experiences, right? So only when the feminine is able to create that union on the level of 5D, and that creates that inner union for both of you and that sense of wholeness, then the masculine can ground it into existence, and we can achieve actual union in the physical that creates that ultimate sense of wholeness that amplifies our individual sovereign greatness. This is why once we get in union, we always achieve more. We always are able to go towards bigger goals, shine brighter, and so on and so forth. So believe that this is what has to happen. Believe that he's doing this for the both of you subconsciously, as you did your journey for the both of you. You're always a team. The desire to be together is a desire of the soul, but the desire of you are only mine, you cannot connect to anyone else as long as we're in separation, that comes from the ego, because the soul understands that we had hundreds of lifetimes when we had different partners and we were connecting to different souls. This is just a physical world and a physical experience. And obviously, once you reach that union, once you reach that divinity, you both will have a full understanding of the sacredcy of intimacy with another person. And what I talk about all the time, how much it connects you to the frequency and the vibration of another person, how the world has forgotten, and one of the roles of the twin flames is to remember everyone how sacred that is, how important that is. The sacred union is not something that we just want someone because we feel alone, because we want to be with somebody, because we deserve love. We are created to be able to function on our own. And yes, we also are created to build communities, to connect to other people, but we have to remember that those connections are sacred because it's giving away our energy. So how we choose to distribute our energy influences how much we're connected to the divine, whether that's with friends, with random people, with community, with clients, and especially with that life partner. So are we meant to have a life partner? Yes. But is that life partner meant to be a random karmic just because we want it now and we feel alone? No. It's always meant to be our destined divine counterpart, and it's someone that is always for us on their highest, most aligned timeline. For most people, that is a higher soulmate. So, quite long video, you know me. When I start to blabble, I blabble. I hope it was helpful. I know it's very difficult. I know I've been there. For those of you who are, as I mentioned before, those feminines that you have psychic abilities, you are a seer, you are an oracle, and you receive that information in vision, so you actually just know, or you see your masculine with someone else. It may also be a bit of a test of you trusting your intuition, trusting what is happening, and being able to process that in a very grounded and peaceful way. Make peace with it at the level of your heart. Yeah, I guess that's all I wanted to say. I paused to think whether there's anything else, but I think that is all. Remember, to whom much is given, much is expected. This journey is given always to the strongest warriors. Yes, it is pain. Yes, it is tears. Yes, it is struggle every day. But you wouldn't be given anything that God wouldn't believe that you are able to overcome. So keep pushing, keep connecting deeper, keep connecting in, keep understanding, trying to understand where is an emotion from you coming from, because whatever is it that your masculine is doing is in the root cause of the emotion within you. The emotion within you comes from within you, from within the ego. And always remember, this is not a journey to torture us. This is not, as some say, the journey to just awaken. This is a journey for us to be together, as I've explained, as above, so below. If you are able to create as a feminine that union above, which is a 5D, it will be grounded in the 3D. So if he's connecting to someone else, it is either one of his final karmic lessons, and oftentimes it's the moment of oof, and then your life can literally change from one day to another. Or for some of you, it's because you are still connecting to the same shadow. So check with that validation. Are you seeking for validation? Are you seeking for changing your body in a way to look a specific way, to look more young, to look more youthful? Are you using still things or pushing your body to perform in a certain way when there's not really a divine way of doing things? So examine that within you. But I can promise you that on our highest, most abundant timeline, is it easy to get there? No. But on our highest, most abundant timeline, there's always union with your divine counterpart. Again, as above, so below. If you as a creature create that in a 5D, so you are able to hold space of love with no judgment, with no anger, with no resentment towards your masculine, and you understand that no matter what happens on the physical plane, here you are one consciousness, you are always united, you are always together, you're connecting to him every day, you're sending him love, you're sending him strength. It will be grounded into existence. And if you need help to do that, I always give this golden advice that helped me a lot. Just imagine that in the physical, he's not even here. Imagine that you are a team, okay, and he's on a completely another planet, okay? You're just team, you're living a lifetime when you are on this planet and he's on another planet, like galaxies away. You're never going to meet in the physical, but you are a team. So whether he's connecting to someone else, going through specific shadows, you're there for him because you are his ultimate mate, you are his ultimate partner. You're telepathically connected. Farther along the way, the journey, the telepathy becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. Your thoughts are his thoughts. You're one mind, you're one consciousness. So as long as you are able to hold that frequency on a 5D level with no comparison, with no judgment, with no he's doing this, he's doing right, so, on a 5D level, and anchor yourself in that frequency, he will ground it as above, so below.